I've probably been trading off and on for 20 years. It's always been something that I've been really interested in. My grandfather got me started looking at the old Legg Mason financial tables when I was a kid. We'd go down to the brokerage office when I was, 5, 6, 7 years old. So I've always been hooked on markets. I started off trading stocks, options. That was disastrous when I was in college. I think at that point in our lives, we believe that we know more than we actually do, especially when we're getting maybe like a finance-centric education. So I had to learn some hard lessons there. And then I was actually a financial advisor until the crash of 2008. So I was in the business for about 5 or 6 years, doing well, mostly sold mutual funds, annuities, things like that, some individual stocks. But after that, I kind of had to make a career transition into IT. So I just dabbled more than anything. And then I started a family. So traded options for 5 or 6 years. Didn't really think about or discover futures until the pandemic. Really started taking it seriously in about August of 2020. Started with probably the oldest prop firm out there at the time. Had a few funded accounts with them. Then moved on to some other firms throughout the industry over the next 18 months or so, and found you guys. And I really liked the concept of, if you perform, you can have an immediate payout. If you're willing to maintain a balance beyond your buffer, you could see funds in a couple of days. And that was highly appealing to me. The other structures that were out there, I'd gotten payouts before from some of those firms, but it just felt like that was an extreme period of time in order to receive a payout to me. Yes. I did have some money that my grandfather left to me, and thought I would kind of use that as my nest egg to learn about trading. I was getting a finance degree from Roanoke College, and I knew that I wanted to be in this business. I kind of looked at this as kind of an entryway into being in the business long term, and that I needed to understand both sides of the equation, whether it was analyzing investments or actively trading the markets, trying to understand market structure and things like that too. But it's very easy to over leverage with a stock or an option position the same way it is with a futures position. And unfortunately, I don't think I had the maturity and the skill set at that time to trade effectively. And I've really had to hone that the past couple of years. But even going back 20 years, I think we have to learn lessons initially with having some skin in the game, or else it's not going to resonate as much. I do. I think it's inherently psychological. I remember, 20 years ago having a lot of those associated feelings of greed and fear almost simultaneously. I remember being long a company that ended up going bankrupt, actually Tyco, and just continuing to leverage into that position, and just feeling those overwhelming emotions of fear, where initially I felt that sensation of greed that this was going to be a 5 or a 10 bagger, and it definitely didn't transpire that way. But I think when you utilize a prop firm's resources, it allows you to trade with a little bit more emotional detachment, which is what a trader should have. You're not necessarily sitting there, and that probably sounds counterintuitive to some degree, but it may have been a function of where I was in my life too. I may have been 24 years old versus 44 years old like I am now too. But I definitely wish prop firms had existed 20 years ago. I think they provide an enormous value to undercapitalized traders. I think the educational resources that are out there for people, if they're willing to work hard and they're willing to put in extra study and really just focus on trying to be better at this, I think you can do really well in this profession, but it's really, really challenging ramping up and starting out. I like take profit because I've traded both accounts that have an intraday trailing drawdown and an end of day drawdown. So I know that I've been on Trustpilot, and I've seen where some people seem to have some issues with going from an EOD to a trailing drawdown in the funded account, stuff like that. I think it actually makes people a better trader. Most of the combines that I've completed have been trailing drawdowns. I think they're more challenging than end of day drawdowns because you're not building out necessarily a more expansive pocket throughout your trading day. You're still having to be conscious of the fact that your account is a finite amount that can only shrink until you hit your profit objective. So, I think that's always an area where it could potentially be refined. I understand that's a risk that you guys take as well, in an evaluation versus a funded account too. But I've tried to copy trade before. I haven't been particularly successful copy trading. I have friends that copy trade 15, 20 accounts with competitors, and they do very well, and they're able to distribute risk and things like that too. I find that I'm better personally trading one account. I find that I'm better not trading news, and I find that I'm better limiting my trades per day. There have been times in the past with some of those competitor prop firm companies where I've traded 200 or 300 times in a day and really spun myself up mentally as far as utilizing a lot of mental capital and also, not really performing well or getting to a high water mark of the day and then giving some of that back. And I think the one thing I like the most about take profit trader is that you inherently build in some rules and structure that make sure that people can trade for another day. Whereas I think with some of these other competitors, they probably are reset oriented or evaluation oriented as far as their fee structure and their composition. I mean, to me, I look at, and I went back this morning and looked at some of the metrics going over the past 15 days that I've had this funded account. I think the most I've ever traded in a day is 34 times technically. And really it's chunks of a trade. I've probably made 7 or 8 trades in a day. But, if I take something off at 20 points in, then I take something else off 25 points in, obviously the way it's structured, it's going to count as 2 different trades, 3 different trades, things like that too. But I find that having those types of structures makes me a better trader. And, I took my 8th withdrawal this morning because of it. So it is nice to have some guidelines and some framework around, hey, this is what you need to do in order to maintain this association with this company. Doesn't mean that you trade your brains out or you try to take 8 to 10 ticks. It means you try to find places where you can get in and get out and make your money for the day. If I make $500 in a day, I'm ecstatic. If I make $1,000 in a day, I close my computer. I find them, and I wrote this on when I did a review about 2 weeks ago of the company. I think customer service at Take Profit is tremendous. They're highly responsive through the interactive chat window. If I email after hours, you typically have a response sometimes by 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I think they're highly professional. They're very engaged, very friendly. I had some concerns the first day that I traded 51 times. Roland walked through and showed me inside of Rhythmic that I'd only traded 34 times. To me, that was huge because that's a game changer for me. I'm looking at resetting a funded account versus potentially being able to trade another day or something like that. And it turns out that what I was seeing in my performance metrics in Rhythmic didn't add up with my actual order entry. So I have nothing but positive things to say about Max and Roland and the whole customer support team at Take Profit. I've waited days before for responses from other prop firms, and sometimes I'll type something in the chat window if I have a question or something like that, go upstairs, make myself a sandwich or get something to drink, and I'll have a response that satisfies my situation by the time I walk back down the stairs. So I think they do a great job. I typically wait until the day resets. That can be anytime between 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard with you guys. I'll typically look at it before I go to bed. And if it's reached around that $1,000 withdrawal amount, I'll go ahead and utilize withdrawal from the control center. And, it will go ahead and subtract out Take Profit's commission there. It'll give you an aggregated amount of what you'll receive, and then you go ahead and start that process. And typically when I wake up the following morning, I'll see an approval from you guys that occurs somewhere around 5 o'clock in the morning. And then at that point, sometime throughout that day, I'll go into my wallet and see where the funds are there. I'll hit the withdraw from the wallet. It'll ask me to, put in whatever amount that I would like to withdraw to deal. I go ahead and do that process, and typically I'll see the money the following morning. So it's been very fast. When I've taken payouts in the past from competitor companies, it can be anywhere from 3 to 5 business days. You guys are, 1 business day, max of 2, just depending upon what time of the day I actually get to go in there and withdraw from the wallet. But it's been a very fast and simplistic process, especially with deal. I've told people, I said, you need to take a look at Take Profit because they have changed the nature of the prop industry where you had to wait these long periods of time and invest all this capital in order to get a payout. I mean, with the Halloween special, I passed the evaluation. I did reset once, but I picked up an account for 50% off. I had that fee refunded to me. Then the account activation fee was something that you guys added into the Halloween promotion as well. So essentially, it's $100 account for me. I mean, there's nowhere else to me in the industry that you're going to potentially get a funded account for $100. I mean, because by the time you incorporate evaluation fees, data fees, you're waiting that long period of time. I mean, you're going to be into an account for at least $300 or $400. So I think it's a valuable arrow in your quiver. And definitely a big differentiator in the industry. I think people are seeing the opportunities that futures trading provides. It's made a difference in my life. It's made a difference in my personal life as far as helping me get more disciplined, think about things differently. I can tell you in the past, it is now December, past 27 months. I mean, I've grown and changed as a person because of this whole journey. There's a lot of value just from becoming a trader in general. So I like what you guys do. I'm a big fan of the company, and you didn't pay me to say that.